Okay, folks, Andrew Bobros here. Well, I'm going to do a video on Oronde Gadsden, the tight end that we drafted. We actually traded up to get him from the Eagles with their pick. And so, really interesting. I think he was the final piece of the puzzle the Chargers needed to round out this draft and really just make this draft an A+ in my opinion. So, plenty to talk about, guys. So, guys, as always, let's get into it. Okay, folks, as always, like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. I'm Andrew Bobros. And again, the man of the hour, Oronde Gadsden, his dad played in the NFL as well. He is a fantastic prospect. Now, you can make a couple of arguments that he's clearly not, anyone like Colson Loveland or anybody like that. But, we'll go into some of his pros and cons in this video as well, too. But why do I say this is the last piece of the puzzle? I really felt like this was the last pick this Charger team needed, period. They needed a pass-catching tight end specialist. So you think about the group, you got Tucker Fisk blocking. He's a blocker. I mean, think of him as a fullback. Think of him as he is a blocker. He's locked the C gap down. Disley, he is a blocker, but he can also catch the ball, right? He had a great season last year blocking tight end. Now, then you went out and get Tyler Conklin in free agency. I think he's very good at both. Very good blocker and very good at catching the ball. So he's kind of the Swiss Army knife in the tight end room. But then you got Oronde Gadsden, who is really just a wide receiver, right? He is a good blocker, not a great blocker. He still needs to improve on that. We're going to talk more about that here in a second. But at the end of the day, think of him more as a wide receiver than anything else. So in my opinion, we actually selected 3 wide receivers and 1 running back. It's how I would look at Oronde Gadsden 100% moving forward. Do you agree or disagree with that? Leave a comment down below. I'm very curious to hear what everyone's thoughts are on that. But like I said, I think he was the very final straw, very final piece of the puzzle. You want a little more depth in that tight end room, a little more vertical threat. That's going to give Justin Herbert an opportunity to win that Super Bowl that we're all wanting him to get and get inducted into the Hall of Fame, as we also want him to have as well, too. But the Chargers trade up to get Syracuse tight end in round 5, number 165 in the NFL draft in 2025. But they made a deal with the Eagles. The interesting thing about the Eagles is that the Eagles actually wanted our first-round pick in Amari Hampton, but they wanted the guy they actually ended up getting at, 32, which I thought was pretty hilarious. So they just stuck and pick, and they actually got what they wanted. Pretty hilarious. I'm still kind of wondering as to why they tried to trade up the way they did, but either way. But bottom line, we sent the Eagles pick number 181 and 209, both 6-rounders. So our latter end 6-rounders for pick number 165. And I think that's why we traded up to get him, because I truly felt like this was the final piece of the puzzle. The other 3 picks we had in the draft were just cherries on top. And again, I even said this in the past, the draft in general, I think was really good. We're just adding more depth. But these other 3 we are doing videos on are really good players as well, too. I'm kind of excited about all 3 of them, in fact. But anyways, a lot of people had Gadsden regarded as a strong prospect in the tight end class. Now, remember, I've said this, he's really not a tight end. He's not. He's really a wide receiver. Yes, he does block. He's going to talk more about this as well, too. And this is one thing Gadsden said. He's happy the Bulls took him. It gives me a lot of confidence that they're rooting for me and they want me to play a role on this team by the time we get to preseason game 1, which is what Gadsden said during the virtual media session. I love them for that, and I appreciate them. Look, again, I truly just believe he's a wide receiver. I really, yes, he's going to be in there for blocking formations occasionally, but I just really see him as a wide receiver. Very good vertical throw. We're going to talk more about his tangibles here in a second also as well. But again, Gadsden's a young tight end in the position room along Tyler Conklin, Will Disley, and Tucker Fisk. Again, Tyler Conklin's probably, I would say, the better overall tight end. Disley, again, is a veteran, but he's really more of a blocker. Tucker Fisk is more of a blocker. So Gadsden is nice because he adds some depth and he can improve his blocking game with this other room here. So he's only 21 years old, which I think is pretty amazing. He's 6'5", 243 pounds. That's pretty undersized for a tight end. Again, why I keep saying, he's more of a wide receiver. Let's just say that's what he is. But he's the 2024 third-team All-American after finishing season with 73 catches for 934 yards and 7 touchdowns. So he did great. He's a very good, productive tight end. He ended his time in Syracuse with 141 receptions and almost 2,000 yards. That's pretty amazing, right? So, I mean, he's a record holder by a tight end, receiving prowess, something he said he believes he makes him stand out. I mean, look, very prolific. And Syracuse wasn't good. They haven't really been good for quite some time, as we all know. But anyways, we're going to go through his stats here in a sec. But I want to read his final conversation here. So Gadsden said this about himself, okay? Better on receiving and still developing in the run game, right? So, again, his blocking is not stellar. We'll talk more about that. Obviously, he's not. Still getting better. Always trying to be the best player, best tight end I could be, Gadsden said. You always want to be the best you can. You want to be a Hall of Famer. Now, his dad played in the NFL, as we all know. Kind of that's an interesting storyline. He played 6 seasons for the Dolphins, got 227 career passes, about 3,200 yards and 22 touchdowns, including a final touchdown for Dan Marino's career. Dan Marino's career, final touchdown. I thought that was a pretty interesting little tidbit of information. So let's talk about his stats and just kind of go through what NFL Draft Buzz talks about him specifically. Again, the biggest thing is he's very undersized. 243 for a tight end is pretty bad. You really want to be right around 280. Well, maybe not 280. I mean, you need to be big, right? I mean, look at Tucker Fisk. Look at some of these other guys on our team. They're big dudes, man. Conklin's a big guy. So, again, he's young, 21 years old. But look at his reception, 73, almost 1,000 yards. Receiving average, 12, almost 13 yards receiving. Think of all three of the wide receivers we drafted. They were anywhere from, this was the lowest, okay, 13 to almost 19. I think Keandre Lambert-Smith was close to 19, if I remember correctly. And I know Trey Harris was high up there as well. So, absolutely fantastic. I mean, these guys are there to stretch the field. So we got 3 weapons that can stretch the field. 40 time is decent. Not too bad, right? Again, slot receiving tight end. So that's the better way of saying he's a slot receiving tight end. I like that. That's a better terminology for him specifically. Now, again, his weight, he is very undersized, weight-wise, height-wise, great, hands-wise, he's okay. Again, his span is amazing. That's the part that a lot of people really like about it. His catch radius is amazing. So there's a lot to be said about that in general, right? And I think, his vertical was okay. Look, very good overall. But again, guys, slot receiving tight end. Don't expect him to block Mason Crosby. Wait, Mason Crosby? Max Crosby. Mason Crosby. Max Crosby. Don't expect him to block that. But he's not going to one-on-one, a defensive end or a defensive lineman that's, 3 bills, right? It's not going to happen. So, again, slot receiving tight end. And I really like that wrinkle in this arsenal for our offense. I really do like the fact that we're going to try to be more vertical. We're going to run the ball, and be vertical. The good thing about him, though, specifically being a slot receiving tight end, you put him out there, you pretty much have to put a cornerback on him. He's 6'5". You're immediately going to create a mismatch right there. So across the board, there's a lot of different ways that Greg Roman can use him in the system. So I love the pick. I would argue, I think this is one of my favorite picks because in this entire draft, just because I truly believe this is what we've missed in the tight end room. Now, again, he's not a prototypical tight end, right? He's a slot receiving tight end. So just keep that in mind, right? You're not going to see him lining up on the side very often. He'll most likely be lined up as more of a wide receiver, slot receiving tight end. So let's go through his strengths really quickly. Natural hands. By the way, watch his highlight videos. Absolutely incredible. They're all over YouTube. So just type in Oronde Gadsden and watch his highlight. Just a fantastic natural catcher. But he catches the ball, snatches the ball with authority. Explosive straight line speed. He is quick. I would argue that his speed is probably a little faster than this. I think a lot of people talked about how he probably is faster than what he performed in the 40 time. Advanced route running, nuance and intermediate patterns. So I think he's going to do a good job of finding open spots in the zone, which is exactly what we've needed. Excels in contested catch situations, so good at 50-50 ball. Medium and deep receiving skills, shows on tapes consistently. Brings a receiver caliber ball tracking abilities. Again, that's where Quentin Johnson struggles, right? I think he has all the physical traits you need, but doesn't track the ball well. And that's really what Oronde does very well. Shows willing to absorb contact after the catch, which is even better. Positional flexibility allows him to align across the formations, creating favorable matchups against various defenders. So again, 6'5", you're immediately at an advantage if you have a cornerback covering, because there's not very many 6'5" cover corners in the NFL. So his weaknesses, and we'll wrap up on this. Blocking technique remains underdeveloped. Lacks ideal play strength when asked to anchor against defensive ends or in linebackers, which again, this is his big knock. He's not great at stopping the run, blocking. He's not great at that. Change of direction limitations make him more of a build-up runner than a sharp, elusive athlete after the catch. And that makes sense too, right? You see he's kind of a seam guy. He just runs straight down the field, go routes, right? Maybe a post. Anyways, medical evaluation requires a thorough investigation after missing nearly an entire season with lisphrantic injury. Now, I don't know a whole lot about that, but I do know he had some injury issues. So I think a lot of people were like, this guy might get banged up. Lower body strength needs to develop and improve blocking. Again, blocking, right? That's what they keep talking about. Now, look, at the end of the day, again, is he the best tight end in this draft class? Absolutely not. But he's a vertical threat, and he's a wide receiver over a tight end. Now, the way that we are set up now offensively and the tight end room, the way it's set up now, I wouldn't suspect he's going to get a ton of snaps, right? He might be the backup. He might only come in for a few games. Hell, he might not even dress out some games. So there's a lot of, it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him moving forward. But again, as a slot tight end, very nice depth piece that adds a lot more to it. I would suspect Tyler Conklin will also be lining up in similar ways, right? More of as a slot tight end in a lot of different formations. So then when they plug in Oronde Gadsden, they're not really doing anything really different, right? So they could be sort of the same general packages or moved interoperably. So very interesting to see how it plays out. But what do you guys think about this pick? I mean, am I way off in thinking this is a really good pick? Look, we traded up to get him. I truly believe he was the final piece of the puzzle that this coaching staff wanted to see. And they went out and got him. They paid up for him. I think he'll pay off. And guys, the next 3 picks we got, we're going to do videos on those as well. They're really good picks. I mean, one is a little bit of a stretch, but I think they were kind of used a little bit incorrectly in the colleges that they attended. So, look, what do you guys think of this pick, Oronde Gadsden? So, as always, Andrew Bopros, again, leave a comment down below. See you guys in the next one.
Hey, what's up? Cameron Dick here watching Bolt Bros podcast.